You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
And it is a first alert weather day with heavy rain and strong winds sweeping across the Bay Area this morning. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Magovic, and let's get right over to meteorologist Jessica Birch, who has been tracking this storm all morning long.
Now we'll see lingering showers into this afternoon, giving us close to around 1/10 of an inch of rain along places like the peninsula, stretched down into the Santa Clara Valley. Los Gatos is going to see some pretty impressive numbers just along those foothills. But other than that, it is also a cool and rainy and windy day for us today, too. This atmospheric river that's pushing throughout the Bay Area is bringing in daytime highs down into the 60s in places that we were just in the 70s yesterday. So from the East Bay off into the peninsula, you see that tan color below me. This is a wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service. Today, we can see gusts anywhere up to around 45 miles per hour. For the most part, sustained winds are closer to around 25 to 30 miles per hour throughout some of our microclimates here in the Bay. But those gusts can get pretty breezy. Today's the day to just take it slow out there, especially out there on the roads and especially along the bridges, too. Now, here's what's happening for us right now. Just to kind of zoom into this first alert Doppler and paint the picture, we're still seeing light to moderate showers, moderate in that yellow color, light in that green and dark green color from San Rafael over into Richmond. We're seeing similar conditions into San Francisco. Take it slow out there on the roads. No reason to rush to get to work or school today. Here's what's happening as we head into the next 7 days. Today's the big wind and rainy day for us. Once we head into our Thursday and Friday forecast, we clear up and we dry up a lot more. Relative humidity will drop. We'll still hold on tight to cloudy skies, but we'll get this nice warm up into the weekend forecast too. 70s right around the corner as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Now you make your way over into our inland spots. Pretty much a similar setup. 60s turning into 70s into this weekend. That's as warm as it's going to get as we dive into the next 7 days. But today is a first alert weather day. And just to paint that picture one more time, I want to show you that radar behind me. We are keeping a very close eye on communities like San Francisco, stretched down along our coastal communities too, with strong winds in the forecast throughout the next 10 to 12 hours. That wind advisory will expire around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll start to see those winds die down into the evening hours tonight.
All right, let's get over to Veronica Macias, who is at the PG&E yard in San Rafael. I know they are busy out there trying to restore power to a lot of people.
Yeah, and within the next 30 minutes, we're going to be hearing from PG&E officials here giving us an update on the storm's impact. Earlier, we were out by Terra Linda High School here in San Rafael, and I've dried up since our last live shot, but it was really coming down. You had the rain coming sideways at you, and the school, they were temporarily without power. And same goes for some elementary schools in the area. We talked to some parents over from Brookside Elementary, and they were waiting for the power to come back on. We found some parents just waiting for that at a coffee shop, bakery. And, for the most part, people seem to be liking this weather. We have seen along the road that there was the downpour from earlier this morning, which made the commute a little messy and a little tricky. But it seems like, things have somewhat cleared here in San Rafael. The wind's still pretty gusty out here. And parents and people that we talk to in San Rafael say they appreciate any time we can get some rain here in California.
I do love it. We need a lot of good rain, and we rain hard in Marin. It's eased up right now, so it's always pleasant, but yeah, we need good rain.
Messy morning, made the mistake of wearing heels, so now I'm just kind of running and skipping around everywhere, but I do enjoy a change of season.
So now that it's safe to go out and the extreme weather has sort of passed here in the North Bay, crews are going to be going out and making those repairs. Again, several outages to report. We're going to be getting that update from PG&E here within the next 30 minutes. And students, that little girl that was sitting there at the bakery telling me she would have enjoyed just staying home and being cozy in this weather, but mom getting her out the door. I'm sure a lot of students also facing the same predicament this morning with all that rain. And
I'm sure you felt the same way too, especially when it was coming at you sideways.
Yeah, now I'm just having to hold on to the hat here.
All right. Sounds good. Hunker down. Thanks, Veronica. And she mentioned Terra Linda High School. That storm did leave that school in San Rafael without electricity for a little while today. PG&E says the storm knocked out power to more than 9,000 homes and businesses across the Bay Area. And that storm caused dozens of flight delays at SFO. An airport official says about 7% of its flights were affected. Well, stay connected with us on this first alert weather day. We're going to have updates on our website, kpix.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, we knew this was coming. The California Republican Party is now suing to stop Prop 50. They say the new maps are unconstitutional. That lawsuit comes a day after California voters approved the ballot measure, and it wasn't even close. Here's a look at the latest results. More than 60% voting in favor of Prop 50, about 36% rejecting it. 75% of the votes have been counted. And here's a look at how California could become more blue under these new congressional maps. The redistricting could give Democrats 5 more seats in the House of Representatives, with the midterms a year away. Last night, Governor Newsom urged other Democratic-leaning states to make a similar move.
We need the state of Virginia. We need the state of Maryland. We need our friends in New York, in Illinois, in Colorado. We need to see other states meet this moment head on as well, to recognize what we're up against in 2026.
And this is a look at that redistricting battle nationwide. You can see the states that are at least considering redrawing their congressional maps right now in the battle for the House. The move by California came as a counterpunch to Texas after lawmakers there painted more of the state red. Representative Kevin Kiley's district in the Sacramento area is likely to be impacted by Prop 50, and he told us it is time to end gerrymandering.
Also, an important thing to note about Prop 50 is that in addition to bringing back gerrymandering in California, it also establishes a state policy calling for independent redistricting nationwide. And so I'm really planning to act on that call to action by working with folks across the aisle in Congress to find a solution to end this plague on our democracy of gerrymandering, which has been around in the country for a long time, but has really reached peak levels right now.
And today we spoke with Cal State East Bay history professor Dr. Nolan Higdon. He says the government shutdown played a role in last night's election.
I was able to catch some of President Donald Trump's remarks this morning at a Senate breakfast, and he even noted that the shutdown played a critical role in the outcome of this election. I think the shutdown is part of a larger frustration people have with Washington, D.C. in general, and the fact that Republicans control Washington, D.C. means they're going to take the blame for it. And I think that's something they've been wrestling with for the last 30 plus days is, they wanted to make this about the Democrats, but without the Democrats holding office, a lot of voters are blaming this on Republicans.
Well, despite the overwhelming support, many people are concerned about the impacts of Prop 50. Lauren Dom spoke with people on both sides after the results came down.
The passage of Prop 50 has sent a clear message to President Trump that Californians are not in line with his policies.
This is in direct response to what Trump did in Texas to gerrymander seats for Republicans. Really what we're trying to do here is make sure that we have a House of Representatives that is going to act as a check and balance on Trump's executive power.
Nancy Tung serves as the chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party. She says now that the measure is poised to pass, their focus will shift to the midterms.
This is really a point at which we have this momentum that we can take into 2026.
That's what Prop 50 is all about. Democrats' ability to take control of the House of Representatives in the 2026 midterms. But it's not a guarantee, as red-leaning states seek to redraw their own maps favoring Republicans. But it's Republicans here in California whose representation will shrink under the proposed maps. About 1 million registered Republicans reside in the 5 California districts that are now likely to shift blue, something local Republicans say strips them of their voice.
Which to me is not fair and which also is not a constitutional republic. And I don't believe that our forefathers set it up to work that way.
But nothing is guaranteed. Those 5 blue-leaning seats still must be chosen by voters next year in an election that could shift the balance of power in Washington.
According to CBS News exit polling, 87% of conservative voters in California did not support the state's redistricting effort. That is compared to 95% support amongst liberal voters. And here's a look at the results from some of the other races here in the Bay Area. Measure A down in Santa Clara County has been approved. that calls to raise the county's sales tax over the next 5 years amid cuts to federal funding. And it appears that voters in Fairfax decided not to recall their mayor, Mayor Liesl Blash, faced some criticism over her support on building a 6-story apartment complex. The Democratic Party is also celebrating a victory in the mayor's race in New York. 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani beat career politician Andrew Cuomo. He ran on a campaign making ambitious promises to make New York City more affordable. President Trump had thrown his support behind Cuomo. Today, Mamdani says he is working with the White House.
I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers, whether that be delivering on his campaign promises around cost of living or the many issues that New Yorkers have been sharing with me.
New York's race for mayor drew the largest voter turnout in more than 50 years. Mamdani is going to become the city's first Muslim mayor. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. After Coast Guard security opens fire on a U-Haul truck reversing into them in Alameda, federal charges have now been filed. The new information we're learning about the alleged driver. Plus, how the death of a beloved cat in San Francisco is spurring a new push to rein in robo-taxis across the state.
It's a first alert weather day here in the Bay Area with some very active storms pushing throughout the bay this morning, clearing up a bit more into the afternoon hours. But that wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service remains in effect until 4 o'clock this afternoon. We can see gusts today anywhere up to around 45 miles per hour. At the same time, daytime highs are nice and cool as we head into this afternoon now that this atmospheric river is pushing through. Lingering showers into the afternoon hours today. We clear up into Thursday and Friday. Some mild weather into this weekend with cloudy skies holding on tight to us as we head into next week with 70s in the Bay.
Well, the number of people killed from last night's UPS plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky is now up to 9. A witness captured the moment it happened, and a warning: the footage is disturbing. Wow, yeah, 3 crew members died on board and at least 4 others on the ground. Officials say the number of people killed could rise, says the NTSB continues to investigate what led up to the crash. They say the plane was on its way to Honolulu when it went down just after takeoff, tearing through roads and buildings. Kentucky's governor has declared a state of emergency. Federal prosecutors have filed charges against the person accused of driving a U-Haul at Coast Guard officers. Our cameras captured the officers opening fire at the truck as it backed up near the entrance to the Coast Guard island in Alameda. This happened back on October 23rd, capping off a day of protests over a planned immigration crackdown. Katie Nielsen has more on what we're learning about that suspect.
In this video shot by CBS News Bay Area photographer Rick Villaroman, you can see the U-Haul truck slowly backing toward Coast Guard personnel. People start yelling, then gunfire. As those security officers started shooting at the truck, it stops, then quickly accelerates forward. Federal prosecutors say the driver was 26-year-old Brendan Thompson, also known as Bella. She's now being charged with assault with a deadly weapon on a federal officer. According to court documents, Thompson was later admitted to Highland Hospital that night for a gunshot wound to the back. Witnesses saw her being driven to the hospital. The U-Haul truck found abandoned a few blocks away with bullet holes in the cab. Thompson is seen in this photo given to KPIX by witnesses at the protests earlier in the day.
Come over here, bro. You need medical attention? Yep.
Hours before the incident with the U-Haul truck on the bridge, the same CBS News Bay Area photographer captured a different incident involving Thompson, where she allegedly assaulted a security guard working with a TV crew from Sacramento. No charges have been filed in that incident. Witnesses say Thompson left the scene of the protests and came back later that night. And now we're learning more about Thompson's background. The Bay Area News Group reports she's active in the queer art scene in Oakland, including being one of the founders of the DIY Museum. According to a GoFundMe organized a few days before the Coast Guard Bridge incident, Bella was struggling with mental health issues, including bipolar disorder, and had recently lost her housing. The organizer of the fundraiser and a close friend of Thompson's told the Bay Area News Group she has never been violent and is not a dangerous person. But in a press release announcing the charges, the FBI's acting special agent in charge said attempting to use a truck to assault federal officers performing their lawful duties is not protest. It is a violent and serious federal crime.
Well, if convicted, Thompson is facing a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. A man was found guilty of murder in an attack on an elderly Asian woman in San Francisco. The jury convicted Keontae Gathron on multiple charges tied to a series of violent crimes that appeared to target Asian Americans. On January 8th, 2019, Yik-O Wong was found brutally beaten and robbed at a playground in Visitation Valley, and she died from her injuries a year later. Gathron was originally charged with attempted murder, but prosecutors upgraded the charge to murder following her death. We heard from an organizer with the Asian Justice Movement on what the verdict meant to the community.
It's about truth and accountability, and there's a real conversation to be had about targeted violence. The spree did cause a good deal of fear in the community, and so having accountability is important for the community.
Now, Gathron's sentencing has not yet been set. He could face life in prison. The death of a neighborhood cat in San Francisco is prompting a new push to regulate the robo-taxi industry. Last week, we told you about Kit Kat, who was hit and killed by a Waymo in the Mission District. Now, the supervisor who represents the Mission is demanding the state give voters the power to choose if we want autonomous vehicles on our streets. Supporters told our Brad Hamilton they hope the resolution will lead to accountability.
Mike Sedan owns Randa's Market on 16th Street. He also owned a cat named Kit Kat, who needed no introduction around the Mission District.
He brought so much joy and warmth and peace to everyone who met him. He brought people together.
Mike was at home last week when he learned that Kit Kat had been hit and killed by a Waymo vehicle. For him, the loss was devastating. But he also made clear his thoughts on Waymo's role in the matter were about safety, not politics.
You know, I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about legislation. I just hope and pray that these cars would be safer for animals and a human.
Whether he wanted it or not, the politics surrounding what happened arrived at his storefront on Wednesday.
Society, traffic.
As District 9 Supervisor Jackie Fielder held a press conference outside the store to call for new regulations that would allow local voters control over regulations of robo-taxis.
That is why today at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, I'm introducing a resolution calling on the California legislature and the governor to give voters the power to decide for themselves whether autonomous vehicles should be allowed to operate on our roads. And this would not have
Fielder was joined by a number of local leaders, including members of the Teamsters Union, all with a similar refrain.
If I ran a red light, I'm getting a ticket, I'm getting in trouble, got to go to traffic school. They run red lights and there's no accountability.
But there is some criticism of Fielder's proposal. San Jose State professor Ahmed Benafa told us this kind of move could stifle innovation when it comes to autonomous driving. He also explained a potential logistics nightmare of making this a city-by-city decision.
Some of them will allow it, some of them will say no, some of them will limit, the time when they will be on the streets. And this can create a lot of confusion. And this is basically infringe on the whole, two big entities in the state, the DMV and the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission.
Waymo itself had issued a statement last week saying they'd make a donation to local animal rights organizations in the cat's honor. However, it was pretty clear to see today this community wants more.
Waymo's CEO said that society will accept a death caused by a robo-taxi. Here in the Mission, we will not.
But for the man who owned Kit Kat, well, he has a business to run. He'll leave talk of the legislation to the legislator and let support from his neighbors in the Mission District get them through this tough time.
The support and love we have received and seen from this community it has been overwhelming. It's inspiring. It's touching.
Of course, we did reach out to Waymo for a response to the proposed legislation, but have not heard back. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. It was once on the brink of closing in San Francisco, but now Macy's in Union Square is getting a facelift. Meet the people who want to transform it.
Seeing those light scattered showers pushing off into the Sacramento Valley, clearing up a lot more into the overnight hours tonight. And it's going to be a pretty impressive rainfall system when it comes to totals. But here's what we're gearing up for as we head into the next 7 days. A baby warm up as we head into this weekend, not by much. High pressure is going to try ridging its way in, warming us up a little bit more into the 70s as early as Saturday and Sunday. That's for the Bay, but we still hold on tight to those cool, cloudy skies each day as we dive into next week. You make your way over into our inland spots, well, it's a little bit different. We're not going to see 80s anytime soon. Of course, we're now in the month of November. It's a lot cooler for us as we head outside. It's definitely jacket weather, but at least we'll average out into the mid-70s heading into this weekend's forecast. Today is a first alert weather day, strong winds and rain. Be very careful out there on the roads. It's going to look a lot better into this afternoon. Back to you.
Well, the holiday season, ready or not, getting an early start at a tourism hotspot in San Francisco today. A 60-foot white fur from Bernie in Shasta County arrived this morning at Pier 39 on Fisherman's Wharf. An official with Pier 39 says it weighs up to 13,000 pounds and will be decorated with more than 500 ornaments. Of course, Union Square is also a popular place to be during the holidays. And while the Christmas tree is not fully turned on there yet, it is in Union Square. The focus is on the future of the area's most iconic buildings. Our Kelsey Thorne shows us what could be next for the Macy's flagship store.
Michael Covarrubias, the chairman and CEO of TMG Partners, knows exactly how much Macy's flagship store in San Francisco's Union Square means to the city.
I had a nightmare a couple of nights ago as we were getting ready to do this, that we were going to send out an email or put an ad in the paper said, we want everybody's opinion, so please send us your ideas, and being inundated with this, mountain of ideas which may or may not make sense.
On Tuesday, Michael's firm, TMG Partners, announced it would be teaming up with Macy's to reinvent the iconic department store. And while the partnership is in its earliest of stages, Michael says the possibilities for what the building could become are thrilling.
Housing is a possible use, entertainment is a possible use, retail is obviously the key to Union Square. It's got two sides, it's got O'Farrell, it's got Geary, it's got Stockton, so there's a lot of variable aspects to it.
Macy's announced back in February of 2024 that the flagship store would be shuttering. The reason, among many factors, sluggish sales. Since then, fear and curiosity over what would come of the building has gripped those who cherish Union Square. Michael says this agreement should quell those fears. His vision for the building is to keep its historic charm while also playing to more modern needs.
At the end of the day, it's going to be a new feature for Union Square, which in and of itself is undergoing a lot of change. There are new tenants coming in, old tenants are leaving. There's a demand for housing, which I think people are talking about. They're talking about converting office to residential. So all of that is in play, and it's all really exciting because of the new political landscape.
Michael is referring to Mayor Daniel Lurie, who has made a point over this past year to bring new tenants like Nintendo and Pop Mart into Union Square. Michael says he and the mayor have a very good working relationship, something the mayor seconded as he was heading into a real estate conference at Moscone Center, where coincidentally he was being introduced to the crowd by Covarrubias.
I want anyone who wants to do business in San Francisco to know that the door is open. We just want everybody to be involved. I know the head of that development corporation is committed to San Francisco. He's been here for decades and cares deeply about our city.
Michael says the mayor's strong interest in revitalizing Union Square will help quicken the process of completing the new building. He hopes to include both high-end and more family-friendly retail in the plans for the space, with the hopes of keeping it a destination for both locals and tourists alike. Outside of the Macy's, everyone we spoke with was a tourist. All of them told me they were sad to hear the Macy's would be changing, but happy something new would be coming to the area.
We didn't know there was a Macy's here at first, but we just came out of this Macy's, and I was just telling my wife this is the best Macy's.
If it serves the needs of the people, then absolutely.
Well, no word yet on a closing date for Macy's, and so far, no plans yet for the retailer to sell the building. And for those wondering about the fate of the Cheesecake Factory restaurant on the 7th floor, Michael says they are safe for now. Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, the Fed's putting strict limits on who can apply for trucking licenses. We'll meet a local trucking business owner who says non-citizens are being scapegoated over safety concerns.
Immigrants are a target, and it creates a divide, and we need to stop this.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at our news headlines. The California Republican Party is suing to stop Prop 50. They say the new maps are unconstitutional. A lawsuit comes a day after California voters approved the ballot measure to redraw California's maps in favor of Democrats. More than 60% voting in favor of Prop 50, about 36% rejecting it. 75% of the votes have been counted. The number of people killed in last night's UPS plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky is now up to 9. 3 people on board and at least 4 others on the ground. The plane crashed down and ripped through an industrial area south of the airport. Kentucky's governor says the plane was full of about 38,000 gallons of fuel, and it smashed into at least 2 businesses. The plane was on its way to Honolulu. Federal prosecutors have filed charges against the suspect accused of driving a U-Haul at Coast Guard officers. That happened 2 weeks ago outside Coast Guard Island in Alameda after a day of protests over a planned immigration crackdown. The officers opened fire and injured the suspected driver, identified as 26-year-old Brendan Thompson, also known as Bella. If convicted, Thompson faces up to 20 years in prison. It is a first alert weather day. You saw that heavy rain coming down earlier, and strong winds have been sweeping across the Bay Area today. Meteorologist Jessica Birch is tracking the storm.
Now we'll see lingering showers into this afternoon, giving us close to around 1/10 of an inch of rain along places like the peninsula, stretched down into the Santa Clara Valley. Los Gatos is going to see some pretty impressive numbers just along those foothills. But other than that, it is also a cool and rainy and windy day for us today, too. This atmospheric river that's pushing throughout the Bay Area is bringing in daytime highs down into the 60s in places that we were just in the 70s yesterday. So from the East Bay off into the peninsula, you see that tan color below me. This is a wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service. Today, we can see gusts anywhere up to around 45 miles per hour. For the most part, sustained winds are closer to around 25 to 30 miles per hour throughout some of our microclimates here in the Bay, but those gusts can get pretty breezy. Today is the day to just take it slow out there, especially out there on the roads and especially along the bridges too. Now, here's what's happening for us right now. Just to kind of zoom into this first alert Doppler and paint the picture, we're still seeing light to moderate showers, moderate in that yellow color, light in that green and dark green color from San Rafael over into Richmond. We're seeing similar conditions into San Francisco. Take it slow out there on the roads. No reason to rush to get to work or school today. Here's what's happening as we head into the next 7 days. Today's the big wind and rainy day for us. Once we head into our Thursday and Friday forecast, we clear up and we dry up a lot more. Relative humidity will drop. We'll still hold on tight to cloudy skies, but we'll get this nice warm up into the weekend forecast too. 70s right around the corner as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Now you make your way over into our inland spots. Pretty much a similar setup. 60s turning into 70s into this weekend. That's as warm as it's going to get as we dive into the next 7 days. But today is a first alert weather day. And just to paint that picture one more time, I want to show you that radar behind me. We are keeping a very close eye on communities like San Francisco, stretched down along our coastal communities too, with strong winds in the forecast throughout the next 10 to 12 hours. That wind advisory will expire around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll start to see those winds die down into the evening hours tonight.
A handful of key election day races brought big wins for the Democratic Party here in California, as well as in Virginia and New Jersey. In New York, a closely watched mayoral race stunned the political establishment with a sharp move to the left. Reporter Bradley Blackburn is in New York.
New York's race for mayor drew the largest turnout in more than 50 years and signals a generational change at City Hall.
This was a campaign ran on hope, and I think all of us felt it tonight.
34-year-old Zoran Mamdani beat career politician Andrew Cuomo with an ambitious promise to make New York City more affordable. The self-described Democratic socialist will be the city's first Muslim mayor.
In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light.
Mamdani's win could fuel the ideological debate within the Democratic Party, which is celebrating some key victories in the first election day since President Trump's return to the White House.
Thank you very much.
California voted yes to Proposition 50. The measure redraws the state's congressional map to flip as many as 5 U.S. House seats from red to blue. The move counters Texas redistricting and could raise Governor Gavin Newsom's national profile.
We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness.
Democrats also won in New Jersey, where Congresswoman and Navy veteran Mikey Sherrill beat a Republican closely aligned with President Trump.
It's going to take a strong governor here in New Jersey to claw back resources and keep our streets safe.
And in Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger will become the state's first female governor. At a White House breakfast, President Trump said the election was not good for Republicans and that the government shutdown was a big negative for the party.
Well, President Trump had endorsed Cuomo in the New York mayor's race, and today Mayor-elect Mamdani says he looks forward to speaking with the president and hopes to work together to help serve the city. In the race for governor here in California, eventually, Senator Alex Padilla says he's not going to run. He says he wants to continue to work in Congress and that defending the Constitution is more important than ever. A CBS News poll released last week actually had Padilla as the front runner amongst California's registered voters, even though he wasn't even in the race.
What makes you say that?
The government shutdown is now the longest in U.S. history. Senate Republicans met with the president this morning for breakfast. The Senate is not scheduled to vote on the House-passed spending bill today. The federal government and California clashing over highway policy. Meantime, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says $160 million in funds could be withheld because the state issues commercial driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. Duffy is demanding that practice end immediately. Our John Ramos spoke with the owner of a local trucking company about how that ban could hurt the supply chain.
The federal government says in the name of safety, it wants all non-citizen truck drivers taken off the road. But it's hard to even imagine what the unintended consequences of something like that might be. At issue is the Commercial Driver's License, or CDL, and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says it is an urgent one.
This is a license to operate a massive 80,000-pound truck that's being issued to foreign drivers who are not U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents. The process for issuing these licenses is absolutely 100% broken. It has become a threat to public safety, and it is a national emergency that requires action right now.
Duffy pointed to 3 deadly accidents involving foreign drivers, including one in Florida where 3 people perished when a trucker from India made a U-turn on a highway right in front of a minivan. The man's CDL had been issued in California, where it was legal for undocumented people to get a commercial license. Duffy demanded that the state end the practice of granting so-called non-domiciled CDLs.
And if you find any license that was not issued properly, revoke it. Get rid of it. If California doesn't comply, we're going to withhold federal highway funds. It's going to start at $160 million in the first year. We're going to double that in year 2.
But that could have a serious impact on places like the Port of Oakland. Bill Abudi owns a trucking company and says the vast majority of drivers in the area come from other countries.
I would say in the port business, 90% comfortably.
90% are immigrants.
90% are immigrants.
Abudi says most are here legally now, but like him, it took years, sometimes decades, for them to gain citizenship or permanent residency.
Think of us as little ants. We just work and we don't bother anybody. You know, we just want to get our job done. We want to go home. We want to have a good life.
He says if drivers are bad, it's because of a lack of knowledge and training, not nationality or language. And he says the estimated 600,000 immigrants currently driving trucks in the U.S. would not easily be replaced. If you remove 600,000 people from the supply chain, what happens then?
Well, we won't be able to move anything, and everything is going to get very expensive very quickly. So a typical trip that would cost $1,000 might cost $3,000 to do. It'd be like COVID. We had a lot of drivers during COVID, and we still had a hell of a time making the deliveries as the surges in cargo came in.
And Abudi thinks the focus on foreign drivers is more about immigration than it is about safety.
Immigrants are a target, and it creates a divide, and we need to stop this.
But the secretary made it clear that he's not accepting any excuses.
My message, it's very simple. Get into compliance now, or we'll pull funding and we'll force you into compliance.
Well, California was given 30 days to bring its licensing program into federal compliance. A note on the DMV website now says the state has paused issuing non-domiciled commercial licenses. Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area, the fate of this controversial fountain has finally been decided, why the artist's son blames the city for its impending removal.
It's a first alert weather day here in the Bay Area with some very active storms pushing throughout the bay this morning, clearing up a bit more into the afternoon hours. But that wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service remains in effect until 4 o'clock this afternoon. We could see gusts today anywhere up to around 45 miles per hour. At the same time, daytime highs are nice and cool as we head into this afternoon now that this atmospheric river is pushing through. Lingering showers into the afternoon hours today. We clear up into Thursday and Friday. Some mild weather into this weekend with cloudy skies holding on tight to us as we head into next week with 70s in the bay.
Well, is it an icon or an eyesore? The debate over this art installation near the Embarcadero has divided San Francisco for decades. And now, as Amanda Harry reports, love it or hate it, its fate has finally been decided.
The iconic and ever controversial Vaillancourt fountain is set to be removed, but the artist's son, Alexis Vaillancourt, feels confident it will live on.
The piece is going to exist, in a certain form. I don't think it's finished.
Armand Vaillancourt finished the sculpture in 1971. It used to circulate tons of water, but the structure no longer functions. Although Alexis grew up in Quebec, he felt like he would see the fountain all the time.
And of course, in all the skateboard video, because I used to skate a lot, so I grew up with that.
The concrete ledges and open plaza drew skaters from around the world, some creating videos there. But Joanna Goodwin with Rec and Parks says it's an immediate health and safety hazard, and they need an emergency measure to remove it and eventually determine the extent of deterioration. She says efforts to keep people off of it have been unsuccessful.
Despite these protective measures, the fencing and mesh screens have been repeatedly breached, and individuals continue to enter the fenced-off area and even sleep within the concrete tubes.
In the end, the commission voted 8-5 to remove and store the fountain. Alexis emphasized that it may be the city's fault that it's deteriorated.
They didn't take care of it, and if it is right now at this how it is, it's because there was a lack of maintenance.
His family is still talking with their lawyers to find a different solution. He says the discourse surrounding the fountain now and throughout the years is what makes it so special. It's rare that a monument or a sculpture or a piece of art makes people talk so much. So just in that sense, the debate is incredible.
Officials estimate that disassembling the fountain is going to cost about $4.5 million. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, libraries known as spaces for quiet. But we're going to take you inside one Bay Area library where you are allowed to be as loud as you want.
We're really just seeing those light scattered showers pushing off into the Sacramento Valley, clearing up a lot more into the overnight hours tonight. And it's going to be a pretty impressive rainfall system when it comes to totals. But here's what we're gearing up for as we head into the next 7 days. A baby warm up as we head into this weekend, not by much. High pressure is going to try ridging its way in, warming us up a little bit more into the 70s as early as Saturday and Sunday. That's for the Bay, but we still hold on tight to those cool, cloudy skies each day as we dive into next week. You make your way over into our inland spots, well, it's a little bit different. We're not going to see 80s anytime soon. Of course, we're now in the month of November. It's a lot cooler for us as we head outside. It's definitely jacket weather, but at least we'll average out into the mid 70s heading into this weekend's forecast. Today is a first alert weather day, strong winds and rain. Be very careful out there on the roads. It's going to look a lot better into this afternoon. Back to you.
Well, a high school math teacher in San Jose has just been named one of the state's top educators. Carizia De La Rosa teaches 9th graders at Piedmont Hills. The California Department of Education chose her as one of the 5 teachers of the year across the state. De La Rosa has been teaching students for 14 years, 7 of those with the East Side Union High School District. Well, imagine a library where noise is not off limits. Itai Hod takes us to one in the South Bay that is writing a new chapter in sounds and silence.
You know the sound, that unmistakable, that echoed through libraries for generations. But here at the Morgan Hill branch, they decided to give shushing the silent treatment. For 4-year-old Luna and her little brother Jude, that means the most exciting story in the library isn't bound in hardback. It's at the bottom of a slide. Their nanny, Tiffany Negron, says this is the first library where the only thing hushed is her stress.
They could be as loud as they want, and we get smiles instead of being shushed.
Once upon a time, silence was golden in libraries. Now noise is part of the plot.
Do you want me to hold your hand?
The real page turner is a new play space with board games.
You can try looking for the animal.
Scavenger hunts.
Look inside.
Even a mini observatory complete with telescopes and stars.
Nice.
And Morgan Hill isn't alone. Libraries across the country are checking out the same idea. That community grows louder when you let people talk. Is it even a library if you don't get shushed?
Oh, absolutely.
Jennifer Weeks is the Santa Clara County librarian. She says libraries have always adapted. And this is just the latest chapter in trying to keep up with the times.
You don't learn how to be a good reader by sitting still.
A 2020 study found that installing play and learn spaces in Philadelphia libraries boosted attendance at children's programs by nearly 190%. In Morgan Hill, attendance has seen a 20% jump in just the last 4 months.
Which one's that one?
For Luna and Jude, it's been a game changer. They've gone from reading about 10 books a week to nearly 30. Because around here, the only thing being shelved is the old idea of what a library should be.
Careful.
And this is part of a project to add new play spaces and libraries across Santa Clara County, including Gilroy, Saratoga, and Milpitas. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.